Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you're part of our journey. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get ready for a story that will leave you thinking. And if you love inspiring tales, a like goes a long way. Nobody saw her tears in the rain. 6 years old, shivering in a soaked pink dress, her small hand clutching a worn teddy bear. People rushed past, umbrellas blocking their view of what didn't concern them. Cars splashed through puddles, their headlights briefly illuminating her trembling figure before darkness swallowed her again. The officer at the corner glanced over, then deliberately turned away. That's when the motorcycle slowed down. Downtown was chaos that night. Rain pounded mercilessly on the concrete jungle, turning sidewalks into streams and crosswalks into small lakes. Shop owners hurriedly pulled down metal shutters. Businessmen and women, protected by expensive raincoats, fought for taxis. A homeless man curled beneath a store awning, watching as humanity rushed by, unseeing. Among them, little Emma wandered, lost after being separated from her mother at the bus station 3 blocks away, invisible to a world too busy to notice. The motorcycle came to a full stop. Water cascaded off the rider's black helmet as he turned toward the child. Pedestrians continued their hurried march, some irritated at the obstacle in their path. The man dismounted, his movements deliberate yet gentle. Emma clutched her teddy tighter as the tall figure approached. What happened next would remind a city of its forgotten humanity, captured forever by a coffee shop security camera. Nobody recognized Keanu Reeves beneath that helmet. Not yet. If this moment made you feel something, imagine what's coming next. Hit that like button and stay with us. Subscribe now. Emma had been walking for 43 minutes. Her pink sneakers, birthday gifts from last week, were soaked through. Her mother had told her never to talk to strangers, but she'd also said if she ever got lost, find a police officer. She'd spotted one 15 minutes ago, standing beneath the awning of a convenience store. "Excuse me," she'd whispered, tugging gently at his uniform. He'd looked down, annoyed at the interruption of his phone conversation. "Not now, kid. Where are your parents?" he'd asked, not waiting for an answer before turning back to his call. Now, Emma's path was blocked by deepening puddles at every corner. The sky had darkened further, thunder rumbling overhead like an angry giant. A businessman nearly knocked her over, cursing as her teddy bear brushed against his suit. A woman on her phone stepped around her as though avoiding a puddle. The child's soft sobs merged with the rainfall, both sounds lost in the urban symphony of indifference. The rider had noticed her 3 blocks back. At first, just a small pink blur through the rain-streaked visor of his helmet. But as he'd come closer, the image sharpened. A child, alone, in weather that had adults rushing for shelter. He'd watched the officer turn away, seen pedestrians create a bubble of emptiness around her as though her distress might be contagious. He pulled his motorcycle to the curb, killing the engine. The sudden silence felt heavy against the persistent drumming of rain. Through the visor, he surveyed the scene, the hurried masses, the brightness of storefronts reflecting in puddles, and at the center of it all, a tiny figure of absolute vulnerability. Keanu removed his helmet, raindrops immediately soaking his hair and running down his face. He wasn't thinking about being recognized. He wasn't thinking about the cameras that might capture this moment. His focus narrowed to a single point. A child needed help, and no one was stopping. He dismounted, hanging his helmet on the handlebar, and began walking toward Emma with measured steps, careful not to frighten her further. Emma saw the tall man approaching and took a small step back. Her mother's warnings echoed in her mind, but there was something in his eyes, something kind that reminded her of her father. The stranger stopped a respectful distance away, then crouched down to her level, rain pouring over his features. "Hi there," he said, his voice gentle against the storm. "Are you lost?" A woman with shopping bags paused momentarily, recognition flickering across her face as she glanced at the man. She hesitated, then hurried on, the potential social media moment lost to her own rushing schedule. "I can't find my mommy," Emma whispered, barely audible above the rain. The man nodded, his eyes filled with understanding rather than pity. "I'm Keanu," he said simply, as though his name carried no weight in the world. "What's your name?" "Emma," she replied, clutching her teddy bear tighter. "This is Mr. Beans." "Nice to meet you both," Keanu said, with the same respect he might offer to world leaders. "I think we should find your mom. Would that be okay?" A small crowd was beginning to form at a distance, phones discreetly rising as passersby recognized the actor. The same people who had ignored a child in distress were now suddenly invested in the unfolding scene. Things are about to take a turn. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe, like our video, and keep watching. Keanu offered his hand, but didn't insist when Emma hesitated. Instead, he removed his leather jacket and gently placed it around her small shoulders. The jacket engulfed her, instantly shielding her from the rain, its warmth a stark contrast to the cold indifference she'd experienced until now. "Can you tell me where you last saw your mom?" he asked, still crouching at her level. "At the big bus place," Emma said, voice steadying slightly under the protection of the jacket. "She was getting tickets, and I saw a puppy. And then," her lower lip trembled, "then there were too many people." The crowd around them was growing. A young man nudged his friend, whispering, "Dude, that's John Wick with some kid." Phones recorded the scene from every angle. The officer who had dismissed Emma earlier noticed the commotion and began walking toward them, his posture suddenly professional, eyes widening with recognition. "Do you think you could show me which way the bus station is?" Keanu asked, ignoring the gathering audience. Emma pointed uncertainly down the street. "That's a good start," he nodded encouragingly. "How about you, Mr. Beans? Do you remember which way?" He asked the teddy bear seriously. A small smile flickered across Emma's face, the first since she'd found herself alone in the storm. The officer arrived, chest puffed importantly. "Is there a problem here?" he asked, eyes fixed on Keanu rather than the child. "This young lady is separated from her mother," Keanu replied, his tone neutral, but eyes sharp with meaning. "We were just heading to the bus station to find her." The officer straightened his rain-spattered uniform. "Well, this is fortunate. I was just about to address this situation myself." His words contradicted his earlier dismissal of Emma, a fact not lost on the homeless man watching from beneath the store awning. "You walked right past her, man," the homeless man called out. "We all saw you." Murmurs rippled through the growing crowd. The officer's face reddened. "I was just about to call it in," he insisted, avoiding Keanu's steady gaze. "Perhaps you could call the bus station now," Keanu suggested quietly. "Let them know we're bringing Emma to find her mother." Phones continued recording, capturing the officer's discomfort as he fumbled with his radio. The narrative was shifting in real time across social media. Keanu Reeves rescues child after police ignore her. "I can take it from here," the officer said, reaching for Emma's hand. She shrank back, pressing against Keanu's side. "I think she's more comfortable with me right now," Keanu said, his voice gentle but firm. "We'll all go together." A woman pushed through the crowd, smartphone raised. "Keanu, can I get a picture with you and the girl? This is so sweet." For the first time, a flash of something hard entered Keanu's expression. "No," he said simply. "This isn't a photo opportunity." The woman blinked, taken aback. "But I'm like your biggest fan." Then You'll understand that right now, Emma needs help, not attention, he replied, placing himself between the cameras and the child. Please, give her some space. The homeless man stood up, positioning himself beside Keanu. You heard the man, he said, his weathered face determined. Back up, people. The unlikely alliance, a Hollywood star, a homeless man, and a little girl clutching a teddy bear, began moving toward the bus station with the reluctant officer trailing behind. The crowd followed at a distance, their phones still recording. The rain continued to fall, but something in the atmosphere had changed. I'm Marcus, the homeless man said to Keanu as they walked, his voice low. Been watching that little one wander for nearly an hour. Tried to help, but he gestured to his ragged appearance. Folks call security when I approach kids. Keanu nodded in understanding. Thank you for watching over her, Marcus. Emma looked up at the homeless man with curious eyes. Your beard looks like my grandpa's, she said solemnly. Marcus smiled, revealing a gap where teeth had once been. Your grandpa must be a distinguished gentleman. The bus station came into view, a modern glass structure gleaming under the streetlights, its entrance crowded with people seeking shelter from the storm. A frantic woman was speaking to security guards near the doors, her gestures growing increasingly desperate. Is that your mom? Keanu asked Emma gently. Emma's face lit up. Mommy, she called, but her small voice couldn't carry through the rain and commotion. The officer suddenly moved ahead. Let me handle this, he said, clearly seeing an opportunity to salvage his reputation. As they approached the station, more phones turned their way. The narrative was expanding. Keanu Reeves and a homeless man rescuing a lost child, while a police officer claimed credit. The story was already trending across platforms, gaining momentum with each passing minute. The security guard at the entrance recognized Keanu immediately, his professional composure briefly slipping. Mr. Reeves, is everything okay? We're returning Emma to her mother, Keanu explained, nodding toward the distraught woman inside. The guard spoke into his radio, and moments later, the automatic doors parted. Emma's mother turned, her tear-streaked face transitioning from despair to disbelief to overwhelming relief. This story is only getting deeper. What would you do in this situation? Comment below, and let's talk. Emma! The mother's cry cut through the ambient noise of the station. She ran forward, dropping her phone and umbrella, thinking of nothing but reaching her child. Emma broke away from the group, Keanu's oversized jacket trailing behind her like a superhero's cape as she rushed into her mother's arms. They collided in an embrace that seemed to create a bubble of stillness in the chaotic terminal. I was so scared, the mother sobbed, clutching Emma tightly. I've been looking everywhere. The officer stepped forward, clearing his throat. Ma'am, I'm Officer Daniels. We found your daughter wandering downtown and brought her safely to you. He gestured vaguely toward Keanu and Marcus, as if they were merely accessories to his heroism. The mother looked up, her eyes moving from the officer to the unlikely pair standing behind him, one a disheveled homeless man, the other unmistakably Keanu Reeves, both soaking wet and watching the reunion with quiet satisfaction. These gentlemen? She asked, confusion evident in her voice. Before the officer could respond, Emma pulled away from her mother. The policeman didn't help me, Mommy. He was on his phone. Her childish honesty cut through pretense. Keanu gave me his jacket, and Marcus has a beard like Grandpa, and they helped me find you. The officer's face reddened. Around them, the crowd that had followed from the street merged with curious onlookers in the station. Dozens of phones captured the moment. Not just Keanu's celebrity presence now, but the unfolding human drama of truth spoken through a child's perspective. Is this true? The mother asked, looking directly at the officer. His stammering non-response was answer enough. The mother rose to her feet, Emma secured in her arms. Anger flashed across her face as she looked at the officer. "You ignored my child, while she was alone in this storm." The terminal had grown quiet. Conversations hushed as the confrontation unfolded. The officer took a step back, suddenly aware of the many cameras capturing his humiliation. "Ma'am, there was a misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding," Marcus interrupted, his weathered voice steady. "I watched that little girl try to talk to him. He brushed her off like she was nothing." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. The story was transforming in real time, not just a celebrity rescue, but a stark exposure of societal failings. Keanu stepped forward then, his presence somehow both commanding and humble. "What matters is that Emma is safe now," he said quietly. But Emma's mother wasn't finished. "No," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "What matters is that my daughter was invisible until someone famous decided to see her." Her words landed like a physical blow. Phones captured the collective flinch that passed through the onlookers, many of whom had themselves walked past Emma earlier. "How many of you ignored her too?" she continued, scanning the crowd. "How many videos are you taking now, when you couldn't spare a moment to help a lost child?" The homeless man, Marcus, nodded slowly. "Been invisible myself for 3 years," he said. "Folks look right through you when they don't want to see." The security guard who had been so eager to assist Keanu shifted uncomfortably. One of the bus station employees recognized Marcus. "Aren't you the guy we keep chasing away from the north entrance?" Keanu placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder, a simple gesture that spoke volumes. The cameras captured it all. The respect in the actor's posture, the dignity afforded to a man society had deemed disposable. "I think," Keanu said, his voice soft but carrying in the now silent terminal, "we all have moments when we fail to see each other, and moments when we can choose to do better." He turned to Emma and her mother. "I'm sorry you had to go through this," he said. Then, with a gentle smile at Emma, "Mr. Beans was very brave today." Emma nodded seriously, hugging her teddy bear. "He's not scared of the rain." The mother's anger softened. She looked at Keanu, then at Marcus. "Thank you," she said simply. "Both of you." Then she turned to the officer, who stood rigid with embarrassment. "And you," she said, "should be ashamed." The station manager approached, sensing the need to diffuse the tension. "Ma'am, is there anything we can do for you and your daughter?" Before she could answer, Keanu spoke again. "Marcus could use a warm meal and a dry place to stay tonight." The unexpected redirection caught everyone off guard. Cameras swiveled from the mother and child to the homeless man who had helped rescue her. The station manager hesitated, corporate calculations visibly running behind his eyes. Liability, PR implications, precedent. Keanu wasn't finished. "In fact," he continued, "I'd appreciate if someone could help Marcus connect with social services. He's been watching out for the neighborhood even when no one's watching out for him." A woman stepped forward from the crowd. "I work for the city's housing department," she said. "I can help." She offered Marcus her card, treating him with the respect that had been absent minutes before. The viral story was evolving beyond celebrity worship into something more profound. Phones kept recording as Marcus accepted the card with dignity, as the officer retreated in shame, as Emma, still wrapped in Keanu's oversized jacket, waved goodbye to her unexpected heroes. "It's not over yet. The best part is coming. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it." By morning, the video had reached 20 million views. It played on morning shows, news outlets, and social media feeds around the world. The narrative had crystallized into something beyond celebrity spotting. Number See Them All was trending, alongside number Be More Keanu and number Remember Marcus. Emma and her mother appeared on a local morning program, the child still clutching Mr. Bean's. "He didn't want people to take pictures," Emma explained when asked about Keanu. "He just wanted to help me find Mommy." The police department issued a formal statement about the officer's conduct, promising appropriate disciplinary action and department-wide retraining on community engagement, especially with vulnerable populations. In coffee shops and offices, people discussed not just the celebrity's kindness, but their own behavior. How many times had they walked past someone in need? How often had they pretended not to see? "I always thought I was a good person," one viral comment read, "but yesterday I ignored a homeless man asking for directions because I was late for a meeting. What does that say about me?" The bus station announced a new program for reuniting lost children with parents, dedicating a special waiting area named after Emma. They also removed the anti-loitering spikes that had been installed the previous year to deter people like Marcus from seeking shelter. Marcus's story took an unexpected turn. The social worker who had offered her card followed through, helping him access temporary housing and medical care. A local barber shop offered him a free haircut and shave. Job offers began to come in. Small things at first, dignified work. In an interview 3 weeks later, Marcus sat in clean clothes, his beard neatly trimmed, looking more like the grandfather Emma had compared him to. "I've been invisible for 3 years," he said, echoing his words from that rainy night. "All it took was one person seeing me, really seeing me, to change everything." The reporter asked if he had spoken to Keanu since that night. Marcus smiled. "He checks in, not for the cameras. He's a genuine soul." Keanu himself had maintained his characteristic silence about the event, declining interviews and deflecting praise. His only public comment came through his representative. "The real hero of this story is a little girl who remained brave in a frightening situation, and a man named Marcus who watched over her when society had taught him he didn't matter." Emma's mother started a foundation focused on training community members to recognize and assist vulnerable people. Lost children, elderly people showing signs of confusion, individuals experiencing homelessness. The See Me program had already launched in 12 cities, with volunteers wearing distinctive yellow jackets inspired by the one Keanu had placed around Emma's shoulders. 6 months later, a small ceremony took place at the renovated bus terminal. Emma, now 7, stood beside her mother as they unveiled a simple plaque. "Remember to see each other." Below it, a bench had been installed. Not the hostile architecture designed to prevent rest, but a welcoming space where anyone could sit. Marcus was there, now employed by the city's outreach program, helping others transition from street life. The officer, humbled by the experience, had requested community service hours with Marcus's program as part of his retraining. Keanu didn't attend the ceremony, maintaining the quiet humility that had characterized his involvement from the beginning. But he had sent something, a small teddy bear for each of the program's volunteer children with a note simply signed, "From Mr. Beans." The video continued to circulate, no longer just viral entertainment, but a teaching tool in schools and community centers. It appeared in ethics classes and corporate training sessions, prompting discussions about responsibility and human connection. A year after that rainy night, Emma's mother received a package. Inside was Keanu's leather jacket, professionally cleaned and carefully wrapped. The note read, "Emma might be big enough for this someday. Until then, perhaps it can help someone else stay warm and remembered." In a world constantly searching for heroes in capes and costumes, the enduring lesson came from a simple act. A man stopping his motorcycle in the rain because he saw what everyone else had chosen to ignore. A child, alone, needing nothing more complicated than to be seen. Wow, what a story! If this moved you, imagine what else we have for you. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know what you think. You'll help us grow if you'll subscribe and get notifications on. And don't stop here. Click one of the videos on your screen and keep the journey going. See you in the next one.